Hello all, welcome to the video walkthrough of Trailmix 1 in which you're going to learn all about the fundamentals of Salesforce. My name is Aditya. I currently work as a Senior Developer Evangelist at Salesforce. I've been working on the platform for the past 6.5 years and I hold 13 certifications. You can reach out to me on my Twitter handle at any time in order to know more about Salesforce and just have a casual conversation around it. So with that, let's jump into the Trailmix. So like I mentioned, you're going to learn about the fundamentals of Salesforce. And the way we have structured this Trailmix is that since this is your first entry point into the Salesforce ecosystem and your first time using Trailhead, we are going to start with learning a little bit about what Trailhead is. You have a couple of badges here over here. And then we are going to dive into Salesforce basics, meaning really understand what Salesforce is and what it is capable of. And slowly you're going to learn about the platform as well. I'm going to cover all of that in just a bit. And finally, in this, you're going to learn how you can create your own data model, load your own data into Salesforce, and how you can visualize data. So at a high level, that is what this Trailmix covers. Coming to the first section, that is learning about Trailhead. So currently, if you're watching this video recording, it means you're already on Trailhead and you've come to your first Trailmix. And what you'll see here is a bunch of modules. So what a module means is that, so everything in Trailhead is divided into consumable bytes of learning. So every particular topic has a module associated with it, and there is a bunch of content in that module. You learn about that module and then you get this badge. So whatever is the icon here, that is what is a badge that you get after completing this module. So once you jump into a module, what you'll see is that it is further divided into what we call as units. So once you go to a module, you find 3 units here, and you go into a unit and you find a bunch of content that you'll have to read through, at the end of which there is a challenge. So you're going to learn all of this content, but how do you validate whether you have learned it correctly or not? And how do we validate whether you have learned it correctly or not? And that happens via means of this challenge. So once you read through a unit, you're going to come to the bottom where you have a quiz. You answer these questions, and then if you answer them correctly, you get a certain number of points, and then you complete this unit. In the same way, if you complete all the 3 units, you're going to get a badge. So that is how it works in Trailhead. Now going back to the Trailmix, let's look at a different module. So what you have seen is a unit which contains questions as a challenge point. But there is also a different kind of way in which we validate your learning, and that is what we call as a hands-on challenge. So not always your units are going to end in questions. Your units might also end with something that we call as a hands-on challenge, where you'll have to do something on a Salesforce org, and then we are going to validate that. Now, I mentioned the word Salesforce org, and it is actually a short form for Salesforce organization. So Salesforce being a cloud-based CRM, each of you will register for a new instance. So whenever you sign up for Salesforce or purchase a license, essentially you get a small instance. So think of it like Gmail. Okay, you're creating your own email address, and then you log in with your credentials and you come to your own inbox with your own customizations, with your own emails. So Salesforce is something very similar to that. You create your own account, and then you get your own set of an instance with some configuration. You're going to learn all about that. But basically what you need to know is you need to create one small instance for you guys to work on for this hands-on challenge. And we have made that very easy for you. So whenever you come to a hands-on challenge section, you just click on this drop down here. Ideally, if you're new to Trailhead, you won't have any of these listed. You're just going to have a button called Create a Trailhead Playground. So Salesforce is not free for customers. So whoever wants to use Salesforce for your production use cases, you'll have to purchase a license. But For developers, it is completely free. If you want to learn Salesforce, it is completely free. And this Trailhead Playground is one such edition that you get, which is completely free of cost for lifetime. It's kind of like a production replica, but you get to use it only for development purposes. You can learn on it, you can practice everything on it, and all of your trail mixes going forward, you're going to deal with a Trailhead Playground, that is the free Salesforce instance. Now, once you create a Trailhead Playground, you can just click on the launch button here to open the free instance. We'll do it in just a bit, but just so you know that a unit can also end in a hands-on challenge. Now, other than modules, we also have something called as a project. So once you come way to the bottom of your Trailmix, you'll find a project. A module is something in which there is content that you learn. So there is a lot of theory that you learn and then either practice it on a hands-on challenge or attempt a quiz. But when you come to a project, it deals with step-by-step instructions. So it's all hands-on. So the moment you go into a project, what you'll see is it lists down all of these steps that you'll have to perform. And you keep performing these steps, and in the end, you just click on verify so that we verify your steps. So you can think of project to be like a complete hands-on challenge where each and every unit contains a bit of step that you perform on your Salesforce instance, and then you work around with it. So those are the two kinds of things that you're going to find. One is module, one is a project. There are question and answers, and there are hands-on challenges. So that is Trailhead. And the moment you, like I said, the moment you complete each module or a project, you keep getting these badges. And these badges are going to add up here. So in the top right corner, what you'll notice is your name. So this is my own Trailhead profile, and you can see I currently have 212 badges with so and so number of points. So as and when you keep completing your modules, you keep gaining these badges, and you can click on your profile picture and go to your profile in order to view all of your badges. At a glance, you can see what is your current Trailhead status. So this is what is your Trailhead profile. It contains your name, your designation, all of it, and then if you have any certifications, it's going to list all of them here. And in the Trailhead section, it's going to show you the number of badges, points, and what all you have completed. Now that is all about Trailhead basics. So like you've seen, I've completed these badges, so it shows me a small tick icon, which brings me to a very important point. All of you, make sure you please click on follow on this Trailmix and every other Trailmix that you're going to work with, which makes sure that we can track your progress. The next section is going to deal with Salesforce basics, in which you're going to learn about CRM for Lightning Experience, accounts and contacts, leads and opportunities. So all of this might seem like a bit of a new terminology, so I'll take a quick 5 minutes to explain you what Salesforce is. So this is what Salesforce is in a nutshell. So Salesforce is an integrated CRM that shows you a 360-degree view of your customer across different touch points. That can be across sales, service, marketing, commerce, or apps. There is a lot of things that is going on in Salesforce. So you might be knowing Salesforce to be just a CRM, but that is like 5 to 8 years ago, but now it's much more than that. Now, Salesforce is not just a CRM, but all of these is backed by something we call as a Salesforce platform, which offers you a bunch of different tools which allow you to customize Salesforce. So to put it in a very simple way, you can think of Salesforce like buying a phone. You purchase a license for Salesforce. Similarly, you go pay money and get a cell phone for yourself. And the cell phone comes with a set of pre-built apps. So the moment you turn on your phone, you can start using it right away without having to do anything else. So that is what Salesforce is as well. You purchase a license, you log into Salesforce, and then there is a bunch of different apps like sales, service, marketing, all of these available to you, with which you can get started right away. And that is what we call as out of the box. So you'll find this word occurring quite frequently. in Salesforce, which is out of the box. What it means is that all the pre-built functionality that comes with Salesforce, that is what we call as out of the box functionality. Now that is your phone. So a very simple analogy. Now what you do with your phone, so you can use it the way it is, but you can also customize it. So there are a bunch of settings that you can change. You can set your own passwords, and you can do a whole lot of things on the phone. In a very similar way, you can configure Salesforce to however you need it, or however your customer needs it. And there are a bunch of tools available for that, and that all of that is a part of the platform. Going back to the similar analogy of the phone, you customize your phone to your needs, but what if you want to build something on your own? So for example, most of you might be using Android or iOS phones, and in order to build something customized, there is a development toolkit available. So there are people out there, Android developers, iOS developers, who build their own apps and they deploy it onto your phone. In a very similar way, you can build your own apps on Salesforce, or if others have already built an app, you can download them and install it via means of what we call as App Exchange. It's similar to your App Store or Google Play Store. There is an App Exchange on Salesforce as well, where you can just download and install pre-built products. So in a very simple terminology, that is what Salesforce is about, and that is all I want to say in the walkthrough. You're going to learn in more detail when you're learning through your Trailmix. So what I'm going to do is, let's go to the Salesforce instance. So this is what the Salesforce instance looks like. So whatever you are seeing on the screen is out of the box, which means I did not do anything. I just logged in and I find all of it ready for me. This is the home page where you get to see a bunch of pre-built components. What are your tasks for today? What does your calendar look like? And there is this beautiful graph that comes up to show you your quarterly performance. So particularly right now I'm in the sales app. If you remember from the circle, there are different apps like sales, service, marketing. I'm in the sales app, and in order to switch between different apps, you just click on this app launcher, and it's going to show you the different apps that are available. Now what you see apart from home is a bunch of different tabs, and each of these tabs correspond either to a table or to a piece of functionality. So the first and foremost thing once you launch CRM is, you look at all of this beautiful interface, but the next question that you'll get is, what about data? Now all of you working in the IT industry or not, there is a basic way in which you store data. Technical people will know that you store it in a database, and a database contains a bunch of tables, and each table contains a bunch of columns and rows. But people from the non-IT sector, the best way you can relate to it is, consider an Excel spreadsheet. And there are different tabs in your Excel spreadsheet, and if you click on each tab, you can consider it to be a different table, and inside each tab you have these rows and columns again. So that is how basic structured data entry works. Of course, you put it into a table. Now in the case of Salesforce, it is the same way. There is a table in which you store all the information, but there is a slight change in the terminology. We don't call it a table, we call it an object. And we don't call them columns, we call them fields. And of course, rows become records. And once you create a table in the backend, you can surface it as a tab in the front end. So that is the basic way in which data entry works. And like I said, out of the box, you're going to get a bunch of tables pre-configured with a bunch of columns pre-configured for you. And all of those are exposed as tabs. So let me quickly go to a tab, let's say the leads as a tab. What you can see, the data is not just surfaced to me in a very simple tabular format. I have these different views that I can create. In case I want to view today's leads, the ones that I created today, or I want to look at all the open ones. All of it is coming to you out of the box, and what you can see is that they are shown in, of course, rows and columns, but it has the functionality where you can increase the size of a column, decrease it. You can, if you want to change the details right here, there is this inline edit is what we call it. You can change the details right from the table itself. and you can click on any of these and it goes into the detail page. So let's before going into the detail page, I'll show you some other functionality of this view that you have. If you want to create a new record, you just click on the new button right here, and a form pops up. And this form, it respects your data types that you define in the backend. So not all the fields need to be text. You might have drop downs, or you might have a date and time field, or even for address you have the street, city, state, all of them divided nicely into different fields. So all of it is going to happen automatically. So the moment you add a new field, so let's say this is what comes to you out of the box, but what if you want to add a new field on here to capture it? So you just need to add it as a column in the back end, and it automatically gets surfaced as a field on the front end in the form. So it all happens automatically. You'll start to realize all of that. Again, you can search through this list, and one of my most favorite feature in this list is that you can directly show charts here. So you need not really worry about creating custom charts of your own. You just select this button and there are a bunch of predefined options that you get. Select leads by source. You click on the settings icon here. You can display it as a vertical bar chart or a donut chart. So it depends on what you want to do, but there is pretty much a lot of functionality that comes to you out of the box. And one very important thing to note is that every part of what you see here is customizable. You can change the columns, you can add new columns, you can remove columns. And let's now go into the detail view. So if you click on a record, what you see is a detail view, and what you'll notice, it is not just details. So it's not just showing you the data that you entered, but it is a lot more productivity that has been built into it. Let's say talk to others, and let's say you have a question about this, you want to ask others. You can just use chatter. It's kind of like Facebook, where you post a question, people can like it, comment on it, and all of it. But all of it happens in the context of this particular record. So that is the power of Salesforce here. It adds collaboration into each and every record that you work with. So of course, if you click on the details tab, you can look at the details of the record. So these are all the columns that are showcased as fields. But like I said, it is not just this that is happening. Chatter is something that I showed you. Now the activity tab, again, lets you keep a track of all the activities. So those of you who are used to having post-it notes saying that, okay, if I'm working on this particular record, I need to remember to do this tomorrow. So instead of you having to manually write it down somewhere, you can actually create a task for yourself, create a reminder for yourself. And in case you're a call center operator who's receiving calls on a day-to-day basis, let's say you call Amazon customer care and you show up as a record on their Salesforce instance. So they look at your details, and once you have finished a call, maybe they log a call report saying that, okay, the customer has now contacted me, I resolved their comments, and they just click on save. So if you call the customer care next time, I actually get to see, once I go to your record in Salesforce, I get to see that you have already called me once, and what are the comments that the previous call center representative that has taken your call has entered. So all of those details come into here. And again, I cannot stress this enough. Every part of this is customizable. So you can control how many columns that you want to show. For example, right now, this is a 2-column layout where on the left there is a huge thing and on the right there is a smaller component. You can actually have this to be a 3-column layout, 4-column layout. You need not really have these tabs. You can all have them in a single tab, and all of it is possible without writing a single line of code. So for example, on your phone, in order to change your ringtone or change your wallpaper, you don't really write a lot of code for it. You just point and click and change all of it. So in a very similar way, most of what you can change on Salesforce can be done just through clicks, and you're going to learn all about it in the upcoming Trailmixes. Now that is all about Salesforce. I wanted to talk more about it because this is your first entry point. You need to know how Salesforce is and how it works. But now typically all of these tables that come out of the box, I said tables are called as objects in Salesforce. So what we call them is standard objects. Whatever comes out of the box is standard. Whatever you build on your own is custom. So all of these are standard objects, and typically in most of the projects you'll be working with a very few of these standard objects a lot. So those are leads, accounts, contacts, and opportunities. Now these objects form the core part of Salesforce and primarily on the sales app. So irrespective of any app that you're working on, accounts and contacts is a theme that you will find repeating across all of the different apps, while different tabs like opportunities and leads might tie to your sales process. And let's say in your service process, like if you want to raise a support ticket with someone, you would actually raise a case. So for that, there is a different table or an object called as a case. So all of these are standard objects. Now in Trailmix 1, you're going to learn about the sales process, that is leads, opportunities, accounts, and contacts. So I was already on the lead, but let me describe you what a lead is. So in a typical sales process, how it works is whenever you approach someone with the intent of purchasing something, you're a lead. So the best example is, let's say you want to buy a car and you approach a car dealership and you say, I want to buy this car. So what they would do, they would take your details, they would take your name and phone number, and they would essentially create a lead for you, which means you're somebody who's interested in buying a product. And what they're going to do, they're going to follow up with you, and all of it they're going to log. I have already shown you the activity log on what all interactions they have done with you. They capture it in the form of a lead. Now once they feel that you are qualified enough, that means so not everyone who goes to the car dealership purchases a car, right? So you might just be window shopping. I would use the word window shopping. All the window shoppers would be leads, and whenever you are trying to negotiate something, that is where you are more than a lead. Your interest is slightly more than just a lead. You are actually actively looking to buy the product. So that is when what you would do is you would convert a lead into an account and a contact. So that is where both of the other objects come into picture. So let's say once the lead is qualified, so I'll do that right now. So let's assume that Miss Bertha Boxer is interested in purchasing the car. So I just click on convert here, and what happens, it shows me a form that allows me to create an account and create a contact, and optionally create an opportunity as well. So these three are related to your lead and the sales process, because first thing, account. Account is generally for organizations to store your organization details, and contact is to actually store your details as a person, and opportunity is to track revenue. Let's say I am from Salesforce. I'm interested to buy a car. So I give my details to the car dealership. I say my name is Aditya. I work for Salesforce. And once they convert me to an account, contact, and opportunity, the account name is going to be Salesforce. The contact name is going to be my name, that is Aditya, and the opportunities name can be whatever is that you are trying to buy. So in this case, if I let's say Aditya Desire, Swift Desire, the most desirable car. So I can name my opportunity this way. Let's just convert it so that you can see what is happening. Now what this does, so let's say one of my colleague again goes to the same dealership to buy a car, and when they try to convert my colleague into the same account, contact, and opportunity, they need not really create a new account for them, because the account stands for the company and they've already created an account for Salesforce. They just need to create the contact and the opportunity for my colleague. And the primary purpose of this is as a sales manager. So let's say the sales manager of Hyderabad wants to take a look at how many employees from Salesforce have purchased cars. They can just go to the account of Salesforce, and all of the contacts listed under the account are going to be the employees of Salesforce who purchased the car from them. So your lead has been converted, and we'll stop the process there. And now let's go to the accounts and look at the account that we just converted. So here is the account. I just converted it. So it's nothing much different than any other table. It's just a different way in which you track. I mean, eventually, once you are building solutions, you'll get to know how you want to architect your solution, so that you can track details and report on them differently. So again, it contains the same details, the same activity. So every record is almost going to look the same. It's just that you're storing them. Um, I mean, if you are familiar with the database term normalization, you can assume that is what is happening here. And one is to many relationships are present in the related tab. You can see that now this account has a contact, that is Bertha Boxer. Again, if you go to the contact, it's again the same details, but rather the fields are going to be different. You're going to have the name of the person, their company, their title, their phone numbers, and all of these. Again, contacts have related opportunities, cases. So you can think of Salesforce to be like a huge collection of tables, each of them related to the other. The more you get into it, the more you get to know all the different tables that are there. And let me go to the opportunity. Like I mentioned, opportunity is meant to track revenue. So here is where, so coming back to the dealership example, I'm interested to buy a car. I told them, yes, I'm going to buy it for sure in the next 1 month. So they have converted me to an account and contact, and they've created this opportunity for me saying that Aditya is interested to buy Desire. Now it can also happen that I'm looking at two cars together. So I'm looking at maybe Desire, and I'm also looking at WagonR. Okay, so in that case, what they'll do is they'll create two opportunities for me. So again, the account is the same, Salesforce. The contact is me as a person, but I'm interested in buying two cars. So they're going to create two opportunities, one for Desire and maybe the other one for WagonR. And then they're going to have a predefined set of fields. Again, all of it is the same table, the same fields, but the way opportunity works is used in Salesforce primarily for revenue tracking. So you track what has happened with this opportunity, whether it is closed won or closed lost. When you're interested to buy something, it is not just one single status. There are a lot of things that you do before buying something, right? So you negotiate with them, you talk to your decision makers, and then you give a proposal or a price quote. And if the customer doesn't like a price quote, you revise that price quote. So all of that can be tracked using these statuses. Again, this is what comes out of the box. If you don't want these many statuses, you want to only show 2 or 3 stages, you can definitely change that as well. But out of the box, that is what happens. And finally, an opportunity ends in 2 ways. Either it is won or it is lost. That means you have either purchased the car or you didn't purchase the car. So I say it as closed, and when I set the closed stage, I can select whether it is closed won or lost. If I purchase the car, I'll select won and I'll save it. If I didn't purchase the car, I would select it as closed lost. So all of it again goes back into your revenue tracking. Closed lost opportunities are not considered in your revenue. Only the closed won opportunities are considered in your revenue, because only if they purchase a car, you're going to get money out of it. So that is what at a very, very high level are these objects. Let's now look at reports and dashboards. So until now you have looked at every record individually, but reports can be used to aggregate larger amounts of data, and dashboards can be used to show them in a graphical format using bar charts or pie charts or donut charts or whatever it is that you want. So creation of a report is very simple. You go to reports and click on new report. Then you choose a report type, which is nothing but the objects and relationships that you want to report on. Let's just select accounts. This is the report builder. It shows you the preview of the report, what are the columns that are present in the report currently, and if you expand the fields, it is going to show you all the fields that the object contains, and you can use this to drag and drop onto this report builder in order to build your report. So right now I don't want the last activity column, so I can remove it and refresh the view to look at the updated report. Now this is good, but what I also want to do is I want to group the rows by the rating. So for that I can go to the group rows and group them by rating, refresh the view. And what I'm seeing here is only a subset of records, because preview only shows a subset. Once I click on run report, I can see all of the records at once. So before that, let me just quickly save this. I'll give it a name and I'll save. Now let us run the report. And there you go. Now you can see that there are a total of 13 records in the system, and I've grouped them by rating. So these 5 records do not contain any rating, while these 3 are hot, warm, and cold. So this is how I can build a very simple report. Now let's create a dashboard to visually represent the same report. For that, I can go to the dashboards tab and I can click on new dashboard, and let's just name it, give it a name, and let's click create. So what I see here is a blank canvas onto which I can drag and drop different components. So by components, what we really mean is we can drag and drop reports and show them into our dashboard. So let me select the new accounts report. I'll just click select, and once I select the report, what I can see is how do I want to visually represent this report. So right now it is a bar chart. I can show it as a bar chart, or I can show it as a donut chart. The preview automatically refreshes to show the latest view, and add. So once I add, I can drag and drop it onto anywhere on the canvas. I can increase its size, so you get the idea on how I can change the user interface of the dashboard. And finally, let's save it. And you can see that the dashboard has been saved with the name demo1. And if I go to the dashboard and click on demo1, and here is the dashboard. So what you can see is that the donut chart is shown along with the rating as a legend over here, and this is how you quickly build a dashboard. This is a very simple one. You can add more reports and add more chart types and to make this dashboard more vibrant. So until now, you have seen a very high level overview of what Salesforce offers you from a very user interface standpoint, and whatever are the objects, fields, apps that come to you out of the box. Now, how do you customize Salesforce? How do you get to the platform part of it in order to customize each and every aspect of Salesforce? So for that, you should navigate to the setup. And the setup icon is present on the top right corner. It looks like a gear icon, similar to what is the settings icon that you see on your phones. It's very similar to that. You can just click on the setup icon and select setup. It will take you to your settings page where you can change a lot of stuff. You'll see that there are a lot of items in the setup, right from the apps. So I showed you a bunch of apps before, right? So you have the sales app, service app, marketing app, and all of these. What if you want to create a new app of your own? So there is a setting for that. You go here, you create a new app. And what if you want to do automations? So let's say there is a business workflow rule that you want to build that says once an opportunity is won, maybe you want to send out an email to your customer saying that thank you for purchasing this car. How do you do that? So the options for that are available in the setup as well. And how do you customize your user interface? So like I said, everything on your user interface is customizable. So how do you do that is what is present in your user interface part of the setup. So the setup is pretty vast. You're going to learn about all of these in subsequent trail mixes. But in this trail mix, we covered one important thing, that is how do you create new tables? How do you create new objects? So for that, you go to the object manager, and the object manager lists down all of the objects that are currently there. So objects is equal to tables. So all of the tables that are created is going to show up. You can create a new one by just going to create and clicking on custom object. You can create a new custom object, and just like you define a table, there are a certain bit of fields that you fill out. So let's say you want to track the payments that the customer is making in a separate table. So for that, you would create the name of the table to be payment. You give a plural label to it, payments, and then you specify some basic configuration. You'll learn all about this, and you click save. That's it. In 2 or 3 clicks, you have created a new table altogether. And how do you add columns? So for that, you go to fields, and then you would add a bunch of different columns. You would have seen the moment you create a table, Salesforce automatically creates these fields for you. And what are these? These are your audit fields. That means every time you create a record, Salesforce keeps track of who created it, when they created it, when the row has been modified, and who modified it. So that is what is stored in your created by and last modified by. So these are audit fields that get automatically created for better tracking purposes. Now to create a new field, you would just click on the new button and you would come to the new field wizard. Again, you'll select the data type. Of course, you want to determine what is the type of field that you want to create, whether it is the email, date and time, date, currency, checkbox, a lot of options available. Select something. Right now I want to store the payment amount, so I choose currency and I click next. I give the name of the column or the field, and here if you see I can specify even the number of decimal places. Right now amount, obviously I want to store it up to 2 decimal places, so I can do that and I click next. It's pretty intuitive. I would say you need not really worry about learning this. There is sufficient text that is given that will help you through all of this process. And then you select some basic settings. All of these are important. You will get to know more about these in the subsequent trail mixes, but for now I'm just going next, and I'll click save. So that is how easy it is to create a custom table or a custom object, and you create custom fields on them. So that is what this Trailmix deals with. I hope I've given you a sufficient introduction to Salesforce and how Salesforce is, the basic objects it has, and the setup options that are available. How do you navigate to setup, and how do you create your own custom tables and store information. There is a little bit more information in this Trailmix, but at a very high level, this is all I think you would need to know before jumping right in. So with that, thank you and happy trails.